Inside North Korea, the world's most secret country. There is one country on Earth surrounded by more mystery than almost any other place alive today. A nation hidden behind borders. A country the world talks about, but very few truly see. To some, it is frightening. To others, fascinating. And to millions around the world, it remains completely unknown. Tonight we enter North Korea, not through politics, not through headlines, but through the streets, the mountains, the people, and the places hidden behind the curtain. This is the North Korea you never see. Pyongyang, the strange future city. Our journey begins in Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, a city unlike anywhere else on Earth. At first glance, Pyongyang feels almost unreal. Wide, empty streets, perfectly organized buildings, massive monuments rising above the skyline, and a silence that feels impossible for a city of millions. Unlike many capitals around the world, Pyongyang was carefully designed to represent power, unity, and national pride. Every avenue feels oversized, every building appears intentional, every square is built to impress. At night, the city transforms. Neon lights reflect across the river. Huge apartment towers glow against the dark sky, and in the distance stands one of the strangest buildings ever constructed. The Rujong Hotel. Walking through Pyongyang feels different from walking through most cities. There are fewer advertisements, less traffic, less noise. The city moves at its own rhythm. Children practice music. Workers ride bicycles. Groups gather in public squares. Everything feels carefully arranged. And yet, beneath the order, there is curiosity. What is daily life really like here? For most people outside North Korea, that question remains unanswered. Visitors often describe the city as incredibly clean, orderly, disciplined. At sunrise, the streets slowly come alive. Women sweep sidewalks. Trams move quietly through the city. Students walk in uniforms, and giant murals watch over the streets from above. Pyongyang is not just a capital city, it is also a stage, a place designed to present an image of strength to the world. One of the most famous locations in the city is Kim Il-sung Square, a massive public plaza surrounded by government buildings. This is where military parades, celebrations, and national ceremonies take place. The scale is enormous. Standing here, you immediately understand how architecture is used to create emotion. Everything is designed to feel monumental. Towering flags, huge portraits, gigantic open spaces. Pyongyang was built to inspire awe. And for visitors, it often does. Yet, perhaps the most surprising thing about the city is how futuristic it sometimes feels. Certain districts almost resemble a vision of tomorrow imagined decades ago. Bright pastel apartment towers, retro-futuristic designs, gigantic sports centers, massive boulevards stretching into the distance. It feels frozen somewhere between the past and the future. But beneath the spectacle, there is mystery. A mystery that keeps the world watching. And our journey through North Korea is only beginning. Mansu Hill Grand Monument. North Korea, the Mansu Hill Grand Monument. Gigantic bronze statues rising over the capital, towering above visitors below. For many travelers, this is one of the first places they encounter. And one of the most unforgettable The scale is overwhelming. The statues stand nearly 22 meters tall, massive, shining under the sunlight, surrounded by marble, flags, and giant sculptures. Everything here is built to communicate power and legacy. Visitors are often expected to show respect. Flowers are placed, photos are carefully taken, and guides explain the historical importance of the monument. But beyond politics, the location itself is visually extraordinary. The symmetry, the giant staircase, the panoramic view over Pyongyang. It creates one of the most cinematic scenes in the entire country. For outsiders, it can feel surreal. The atmosphere is quiet, controlled, ceremonial. Tourists move carefully, locals gather respectfully, and giant red flags wave behind the monument. This place reveals something important about North Korea. The deeper you travel into North Korea, the more you realize this country communicates through visuals, through massive buildings, through synchronized performances, through giant public spaces. And nowhere is that clearer than here. As the sun begins to set over Pyongyang, shadows stretch across the monument. The bronze statues glow orange in the evening light, and for a brief moment, the city becomes strangely peaceful. Yet beyond the calm streets, another side of North Korea waits, hidden underground. The Pyongyang Metro. Beneath the streets of Pyongyang lies one of the deepest subway systems on Earth, the Pyongyang Metro. Descending into the stations feels like entering another world. Long escalators disappear deep underground. Then suddenly, the stations appear. Mosaic artwork covering the walls. The metro stations are less like transportation hubs and more like underground palaces. Built during the Cold War era, the system reflects strong Soviet architectural influence. Every station has its own identity. Unlike many modern subways around the world, the Pyongyang Metro feels unusually calm. No giant advertisements, no loud digital screens, no overwhelming rush. Passengers sit quietly, reading newspapers, talking softly, looking out into the darkness between stations. For visitors, the experience is unforgettable. It feels less like public transportation and more like stepping into a hidden museum beneath the city. But the metro also served another purpose. Because of its extreme depth, some experts believe parts of the system could function as bomb shelters during emergencies. This adds another layer of mystery to the underground network. As trains move through the tunnels, lights flicker against the walls. The stations remain perfectly maintained, almost untouched by time. And for a moment, the outside world feels very far away. The deeper we travel into North Korea, the more complex the country becomes. Not simply a mystery, not simply a headline, but a place filled with contradictions, beauty and control, grandeur and silence, isolation and pride. And now, our journey leads toward one of the most dangerous borders on Earth. The DMZ, the most dangerous border? South of Pyongyang lies a place where history never truly ended, the Korean Demilitarized Zone. The DMZ, a heavily guarded border separating North Korea and South Korea. Technically, the Korean War never officially ended. And here, that tension still exists. This is one of the most militarized borders in the world. At the center of the DMZ lies Panmunjom, the famous blue buildings where negotiations between North and South have taken place for decades. This is where history happened, where agreements were signed, where moments of peace and moments of crisis unfolded before the world. Yet behind that line exists one of the most important divisions in modern history. Families separated for generations. Two nations sharing one culture, yet living vastly different realities. For decades, the DMZ has become one of the most symbolic borders on Earth, not only because of military tension, but because it represents division itself, a reminder of how history can reshape entire civilizations. Visitors often describe the experience as emotionally overwhelming. There is curiosity, yet despite the tension, nature has quietly reclaimed parts of the border. Forests now grow across sections once devastated by war, in a strange way. The DMZ has become both a symbol of conflict and an accidental sanctuary. Paektu, the sacred volcano. Far from the cities, far from the monuments, far from the borders, rises the most sacred mountain in North Korea, Mount Paektu, an enormous volcanic mountain surrounded by clouds, forests, and legend. For centuries, Mount Paektu has held deep cultural importance across the Korean peninsula. It is not simply a mountain, it is a symbol. A place connected to identity, mythology, and national pride. At the summit lies Heaven Lake, a breathtaking crater lake formed inside the volcano itself. The water appears impossibly blue, surrounded by cliffs and drifting mist. The landscape feels untouched, ancient, almost mythical. Unlike the controlled geometry of Pyongyang, nature dominates here. The wind moves freely across the mountain. Clouds roll over the volcanic rim. Silence stretches across the horizon. For travelers lucky enough to witness Mount Paektu in clear weather, the experience becomes unforgettable. Sunrise transforms the lake into gold. Snow covers the peaks during winter, and during summer, green valleys surround the mountain slopes. This is a completely different side of North Korea. Stories about Mount Paektu are taught across the country. Its image appears in art, songs, and national narratives. To many people inside North Korea, this mountain represents endurance and identity. In standing beside the crater lake, it becomes easier to understand why. As clouds drift across the summit, our journey through North Korea begins to close. A nation often reduced to headlines, yet far more complicated than a single story, in sacred mountains hidden above the clouds. North Korea remains one of the least understood countries on Earth. And perhaps that mystery is exactly why the world cannot stop watching. Travel changes the way we see the world. Sometimes it confirms what we already believe, and sometimes it challenges everything. North Korea is not easy to understand. Its history is complicated, its isolation is real, and its future remains uncertain. But beyond politics, beyond fear, beyond headlines, there are still landscapes and people living their daily lives. Perhaps the most powerful journeys are not the ones that give us answers, but the ones that leave us asking deeper questions. Thank you for exploring this hidden world with us. This was World Unseen.